Hello again and welcome to Pearl Magazine. In the first of our stories tonight, the tide may be turning amid the waves of outward migration in recent years. After the break, a chance of overseas education to broaden the horizons of students with lower grades and limited means, giving them a chance at further education. While hundreds of thousands of Hong Kong residents have left the city in the past few years, the tide may be turning. More new people and residents are moving back to the SAR as the government relaxes COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. Zela has more on this story.
I feel like I missed a lot of the bad stuff. I missed all the closures of all the landmarks like the Jumbo, so it feels quite sad to see that. But I guess when I came back, all the stuff that had opened was actually very exciting to me, right? The M+, opened during the pandemic.
Casey Lau is surprised at how the SAR has changed in the nearly 3 years he's been away. Casey is a startup advisor and tech conference producer.
My passion is basically connecting startups from around the world, and having a large conference here in Hong Kong, an annual one, and being able to let everybody to come here and see what's happening here.
A resident for 20 years, Casey went overseas when the COVID-19 pandemic began in 2020 and traveled the world producing tech conferences. He returned last December after the government lifted quarantine restrictions for arrivals.
I just can't get back in with the quarantine. I think that was the main concern of mine. My job is, of course, flying around to a lot of conferences and events around the world. So having to figure out how to come back, how to quarantine for a couple of weeks, it's kind of hard to do that.
He's rediscovering the city and enjoys taking photos of the Sherwan neighborhood where he lives and works.
It's been 3 years, so I think anybody would come back and be very surprised at what it looks like today, right? Especially these more gentrified neighborhoods, right? That used to be more maybe old Hong Kong are now kind of becoming more modern Hong Kong. And I guess the rents dropped a little bit, so there are a lot of new cool restaurants, retail, cafes, bars, all moved into this area here. I think it's fascinating. So I definitely like to take pictures of it. I got a new camera specifically to do this and to kind of show all my friends around the world what it looks like here.
And he spends his time reconnecting with the startup community.
We're working towards a big conference next year in 2024. So there's a lot of groundwork to do, a lot of people to talk to, a lot of the government, businesses, startups, people to communicate with. That's basically, it's kind of like going back and, saying hi to everybody, basically.
James Bernardo also organizes events for entrepreneurs at the serviced office. He welcomes Casey's return.
We're all feeling a bit more positive within the startup ecosystem. He's only been back a few weeks, but already we've got events going again, there's community coming back. I think we've obviously been on a bit of a downward spiral for the last few years, and a little bit shell-shocked. He's very excited about things. Everything's a bit new to him now, since he's been away for 3 years, and I think that's been great to sort of catalyze us.
Nearly 2 million Hong Kong residents arrived last year. That's 100% more than in 2021. They could be visiting, transiting, or relocating to the city. This moving company has seen an increase in the inbound business. Rob Chipman is the CEO, and he says the number of inbound moves increased after 4 years.
It was in 2022 where we actually saw a 33% increase in inbounds over the previous year, which was, really was very encouraging to us, so we're happy about that.
So when did the outbound traffic start dying down?
I think the outbound traffic started to slow maybe July, August this past year, and that's when it normally slows down, but this one was more pronounced, so I think the people who had decided they wanted to leave had pretty much left.
People are moving in from the usual countries: US, China, Singapore, Japan, UK, Australia, and Canada. Rob says the inbound moves are 50% of the 2018 level, before the protests and pandemic. If the inbounds continue at this rate, he expects to return to the 2018 level in 1 to 2 years. He attributes the surge in inbound moves to a few reasons.
there's greater confidence in the sort of change of political administration. People are less uncertain now. I think there's some signs of economic strength. That's important. But I think the major one is COVID. I think we finally started to see our way out of COVID. The government's starting to relax restrictions, and you can go back to leading the sort of normal life that we led in all these years leading up to COVID, which really hampered a lot of people and a lot of corporations from bringing people into Hong Kong.
In the worst days of the pandemic, flights from some countries were banned. Arrivals had to quarantine for 3 weeks. Indoor dining ended at 6 p.m. Group gatherings were limited to 2 people. Rob says at least 2/3 of the relocations in 2022 were for corporate jobs. Ronnie Lakhani and her husband moved back for her job. She was born and raised in the city. They retired to Spain in 2018.
At that time, I felt I was burnt out, I was tired, I did a lot of running around, and eventually we decided why not go and be close to the children, because my son was working in London, my daughter is married and lives in Gibraltar, and we'd bought this beautiful house in Spain in 2014. And we said, we've bought it, but we've never lived in it. So we said, let's go and try it out.
In 2021, she started consulting for a Hong Kong real estate company remotely.
Eventually, last year, my boss said, why don't you come back to Hong Kong and work out of the office? And working with them for 2 years, I thought, why not? I hadn't seen my mum in 3 years. Hong Kong, I had a very strong feeling it was going to pick up. And I said, why not? Let's do a last run. So here I am back in Hong Kong, and I love it.
Mr. Graffler, hey, welcome. Deepa, coming. How are you, Ronnie? Long time no see you.
She and her husband moved back to Hong Kong nearly a year ago and reunited with old friends.
It didn't feel like I had gone away for 4 years and come back. People have been really nice, and old friends have looked at us like, hey, you were gone yesterday, you're back today.
It's good to come back because Spain was a bit too laid back. Hong Kong is very lively, very busy. It's good to come back and do some work, meet people.
But the city feels a bit different to Ronnie.
COVID hit Hong Kong really badly, and I find a lot of shops that were closed are slowly reopening, which is a positive sign. I think Hong Kong has only changed because the economy has changed. A lot of people have moved away. The expats have moved away, so the environment feels different. But if you see the Hong Kong locals, I think a lot of them still have that drive, that energy in them. And I think they're all just waiting for Hong Kong to open up. And I think all the expats that have left Hong Kong will all come back. 2,038 square feet.
Ronnie manages the leasing department for the real estate company. She's redecorated the properties with the European style to attract new expat clients.
The new set of people coming in to Hong Kong are a very mixed bag at the moment. You've got people coming back from America, the mainland Chinese, the American Chinese coming in. They want something a bit more modern, a bit more spacious, a bit more brighter. People are looking for a better property today. They are willing to pay the price. They're willing to walk into something that is spanking new.
She's anticipating a brighter new year.
I am looking forward to a more dynamic Hong Kong. I think the city is waking up. I think it would help me in particular with my business, with real estate. I think with people coming back, Hong Kong will bounce right back. And I honestly think it's going to be one of the best cities in Asia again.
Casey is also optimistic about Hong Kong's future, as long as the government doesn't reimpose COVID-19 pandemic restrictions.
Right now, I'm committed to seeing what's going to happen here for the next few years. That's my job, and that's a lot of businesses out there, right? If they open the doors for all the banks and all the bankers come back, I don't think they can close that door again. It would just destroy the city forever, right? So I think it's very tricky. I don't know what's the future going to hold. I don't know what's next around the corner. But for now, we're back, and we'll figure it out day by day.
When we come back, a chance for overseas education for the underprivileged. Stay with us. Welcome back to Pearl Magazine. Education is wealth in Hong Kong. Students from underprivileged backgrounds with low or average grades often cannot afford further education and suffer in the competitive Hong Kong environment. Yet, as Tina Jiang reports, a program to send these students overseas has broadened their horizons, opening up new opportunities for them, which have changed their lives significantly. Alice Ng is a final year student majoring in English education at this local university in Kowloon Tong.
I decided to be an English teacher because I want to share my experience, tell the students that they do not have to limit themselves in the environment that they have.
Alice's inspiration came from her personal experience 7 years ago, when English was still a subject that she struggled with. Teaching English was never an option before then.
None of my family speak English. It just kills me. I don't understand the grammar rules. I don't have enough vocabulary. I don't have the confidence of using that language.
In 2015, a high school exchange program brought her to the other side of the world.
I went to Louisiana, the town Crowley. In my first English lesson, I can't speak a word. My teacher told me, okay, so make a speech in Cantonese. And I start to speak a lot, and they say, wow, Alice, I've never heard you speaking so much. And I was like, okay, so maybe I can try more. And then after then, each time she asked me to give a speech in either Cantonese or English, and I started to develop my confidence. I truly understand that English is a language. Back then, English was a subject.
Growing up in a less well-off family, the idea of studying overseas never occurred to Alice.
My father is a construction worker, and my mother was a part-time shop assistant. We never have a family trip before. Given my family background, I can only work on myself to get better DSE score, and this seems like the only hope of my life.
Most scholarships award the best students in academics and the most talented ones. However, a local education fund looks for candidates like Alice, who were never top of their class. Each awardee receives funding of around $140,000 to study in the U.S. for a year. This covers all the tuition and living expenses.
In Form 4, I stumbled upon this opportunity about this scholarship called Yes I Can that would sponsor a one-year exchange program covering all the expenses. Initially, I was skeptical. I was thinking, how is it even possible? This is too good to be true.
Ivan Chan hesitated to apply even after he confirmed the program was real.
I would consider myself as an average student in a Band 3 school in Hong Kong. And in fact, I failed my English class. Why would they pick me over others, for such a limited spot?
The founder of this initiative says the scholarship was not targeting the top students, but those with potential.
First, we look for students from less affluent family which cannot support a child to study abroad. Second, we look for those who have worked very hard but might not fit in the DSE testing system. These students might not be the best in academics, but they might be the best in going through hardship, best in tackling family issues, and might be best in self-management.
Stella Ma founded the program in 2011, upon retirement from operating an education agency for decades. Armed with her knowledge of the education system, Stella then decided to do something for underprivileged students.
We have students who have to go back home right after school, first to the market, then home to feed her mentally ill mother with medicine, then assist her kindergarten sister with homework, cook dinner, and settle everything before she can start her own schoolwork at 10 in the evening. these young people are real life fighters, and they are bearing a lot at this young age. These students deserve an award for what they have gone through.
Scholarship winners spend a year living in the United States with a host family and attend a local public high school.
They select subjects they have interest in, and they are graded not by a one-time examination, but by their regular assignments. So many of them end up this year with a beautiful transcript. This first year gives the most important foundation with different choices ahead.
Ivan Chan, the scholarship awardee in 2013, says that the exchange program was a turning point in his life.
So in that 1 year, I lived with a host family in a very small local town in Pennsylvania. My host family, they were extremely patient and kind and introduced me to the new culture, helped me to adapt to the new environment. We participated in homecoming dance. We attended American basketball games for my very first time in my life. The school system is very flexible. They allow you to take as many different classes as you wanted. So I took accounting classes, and it actually helped me to develop my future, career aspirations of being external auditor.
After that year, Ivan was very determined to continue his journey in the U.S. But being born and raised in a low-income family, he knew that his family wouldn't be able to support him financially. So he returned to Hong Kong and took 2 jobs.
During the daytime, I worked as an internship at a chemical product company. And at night times, I work at a sushi restaurant or a bartender to make up for extra income. And at the end of summers, I was able to afford a one-way ticket to America and my first year tuition in the community college. I was like, okay, just go for it and see what happens after the first year.
During that year, he continued to work 20 hours a week on campus and earn good grades to qualify for a scholarship.
After first 2 years in a community college, I transferred to a university in Utah because they have one of the best accounting programs. And after that, I was able to receive scholarship to attend University of Southern California. And upon my graduation, I was able to secure a full-time offer to start off my career at PwC.
Looking back, Ivan believes that submitting the application form to study in the U.S. was probably the best decision he ever made.
Based on the track record of my high school, there's only like 5 to 6 students each year that could get into one of the college in Hong Kong. So I think my chance of getting into a college or to study a subject that I'm interested in is very minor. If I would have stayed in Hong Kong, I might not be able to get in college or study the subject that I would be interested in.
Over the years, many students who participated in the program have proved that they can make a change. Stella Ma believes that all they need is a voice to tell them, yes, you can, and you're not forgotten.
I have students that graduated from the U of Southern California, UC Berkeley, U of Washington. They start low, and these names are once unimaginable for them. It's not easy to explain to prospective donors why we give out some 140,000 Hong Kong dollars to one not so good student. But we'd like to share with all people that this one scholarship does not only go to one student, but it goes to a family, giving them hope for a better life.
Wong La Fai has been a sponsor of the scholarship for nearly 10 years. Coming from a grassroots family himself, he understands the feeling of being an underprivileged student.
My parents were new immigrants to Hong Kong after World War II. During my first few years studying at an English school, I was stuck in English, and I couldn't get rid of the sense of inferiority. When we were teenagers, we worked so hard. Everyone saw that as long as we worked hard, we could make achievements in any profession. But today, the disparity between rich and poor makes many grassroots teenagers completely lost confidence. Because they feel that they have lost too much at the starting line. If more people can respond, it will be a good thing to drive young people from the grassroots of the entire society to the upper class.
During COVID, there was a lot of pent-up demand for overseas travel and also education. But now that finally the world is opening up again, a local education agency notices that more and more Hong Kong students are getting ready to study overseas again.
It's been increasing, probably around like 500 inquiries per month.
Among the most popular destinations for Hong Kong students, the UK has always been #1. In recent years, the UK has become more popular because the British government has relaxed application requirements for BNO passport holders. Australia used to be #2 after the UK, but its borders were closed for a few years during COVID. Last year, Canada overtook Australia as #2 with its easier immigration policy for Hong Kong people.
It's called Stream A, which states that as long as you study for 2 years at any designated learning institution in Canada, then you can apply for permanent residency directly, like without any point system, without any work experience. So obviously that's very attractive to a lot of young people in Hong Kong.
She says students and parents used to select their destinations based on academic reasons. Now immigration is top of their mind.
But nowadays people are thinking, okay, for this amount of money I pay, not only do I get a degree, but could I also get a passport from it? I always advise them to consider both sides, both the academic and also your future, right? There are sometimes students come to me with very creative proposals about studying a certain subject in this country or that. I always push them to just make sure it's something that you want to do. Not only does it pay well, but that you would be happy doing for the rest of your life.
That's our show for this week. Join us on Pearl Magazine, same time next week. Bye for now.